This is Joyce Topo interviewing Karina Sabinikova, born in 1993 in Bonica, Slovakia. Now, Karina, tell me about your background.
Well, I'm from Slovakia. As I said, I was born in 1993. I don't know my actual dad. Um, we lived in a town called Priedvidza, which is not far from Bonice, for 14 years. And then I moved to England in 2008. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can you describe your early childhood to me?
It was quite fun one, despite the fact that it was right after the communism. Uh, we were alright. Like I think my child was, I could have whatever I wanted. Like not in a sense that I was spoiled, but we could actually afford stuff. We were not poor, which was rare for that time. For that time. I got a twin, so it wasn't boring. And yeah, there's not much else to say really.
Can you tell me about your education in Slovakia, please?
Education in Slovakia is quite tough one, especially comparing to England. So you start education when you turn 6, and sometimes when you turn 7, depends what month you were born in the year. You start in like sort of a first school where it's first 4 years. You're learning the basic, but I already learned also a second language because it was compulsory starting from the early age. Then you move to sort of like a secondary part of the school, and where you go more into the details, you also need to have another language. So I ended up learning two languages, German and English, but then I gave up and I just carry on with the German. I was focused more on math, and I'm meant to graduate there, but we actually left during the secondary process. So I sort of finished it because I was basically, when I came here, I was doing both schools, one here, and I was finishing my secondary there by doing just the final exams because you sort of need to have it. You couldn't just stop it and just transfer it. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me about coming to Birmingham?
It was quite a tough one. My dad came here, I think, when I was 12 years old. He got better offer in terms of his job, so he moved here. Then my mum and my little sister, they moved 2 years after that. And my sister, well, my twin, we only got to receive a text message when we were 14 years old, and we were finishing at school saying that we're going to move to Birmingham with nothing else. And that was quite tough times because I think in Central Europe, when you turn 15, it's quite big times. So you got your ID, you automatically sort of like entering the adulthood, and it's something like here when you celebrate you're 21, but we get back in when you're 15. So we were kind of looking forward to that with my twin because it's a big thing. You get party, everything involved, and we just realised that that might not happen and we might not even get the IDs. And when we moved to England, to Birmingham, we spoke no English, literally no English, and it was quite tough times to start high school here and knowing that because the education system is quite different here, we were sort of pushed back in terms of education. So when I was graduating here, over the 2 years, I learned nothing new. I knew everything I was actually learning over those 2 years. I think it was year 10, year 11. I knew everything. Despite no knowledge of English, I graduated with A stars, and that was quite sad. Me and my sister, we were sort of fighting it. We we sort of refused to learn English, and just for sake of trying to get back to Slovakia, which my sister managed to do when she turned 16. She realised when we finished high school here, the way you start college here is quite stupid for I think. Like, we didn't really have a choice with my sister because they automatically assume we can't speak English, so let's just throw you into the course which is where you don't really need English. So they told us that we should do arts and design, which I was fine with that, but all my time, like back in my country, because my grandma, she was a teacher of physics and maths. I was really good at those two, and I really, really wanted to do it. And this vision to do either economics and business or being a teacher in physics and maths. And despite the fact I was the best one in maths at the high school, they decided basically for me that I'm going to our college, that there's no other options. And I kind of realised, like, okay, fair enough, that makes sense. And at that point, we didn't really understand how the whole education process works here, so we didn't really have any choice, and we just accepted it. I was fine with it at the time. My sister, she was pushed to do the child education or something like that, I can't really remember. And she hated it so much that she literally left the country without telling my parents, and they come to the agreement that, okay, she can stay there under the condition that she will be living with her granddad. So she kind of managed to escape the hell we were living here, and I just carry on going. And I tried to sort of get out, like I was applying for schools in Slovakia or Czech Republic, but I hit the wall when I was informed, which I already knew, but education system here is not equivalent at all to education systems in Europe. So you couldn't just go there like, yes, I got high school, can I carry on the rest of the college or whatever in this country? They would just say no, because you don't have compulsory. Loads of subjects here are not compulsory, like geography or whatever, history, like. And because of that, I couldn't really carry on in Slovakia. They asked me to basically repeat the whole secondary school. So I haven't really had I couldn't really choose, so I was kind of trapped.
Okay, can you tell me about memories from school, from secondary school?
I literally had no memories whatsoever, which is good. It was hell. It was living hell. We haven't really had support, me and my sister, during the year 10, so we had no idea how to actually communicate to people, and it was really disgusting because I felt like in a zoo. We were not referred to like Karina and Sandra, she's my twin. We were referred like, oh, those Central European girls for like over 2 years, and you just got sick of it, like. And we always spent our lunch at like breaks at the library. We could access the internet, but what the school did, they banned every Slovakian website, so we couldn't even use that, because in Slovakia we used to have a similar version of Facebook, but more of a Slovak version, and that was the only way to communicate to our friends. So we couldn't even do that because they banned it, because they couldn't understand what we're actually accessing. In year 11 they found us a Slovak lady who sort of should help us learning English, but because me and my sister, we had background in German, it was very, very hard with some of the words, especially like word was. It means what in German, and English, it's got completely different meanings, and in my brain I couldn't really swap it around and sort of being like, yes, that's what it means. Like every time I saw that word or other words, I just had in my mind in German or in my own language rather than trying to understand in English. And that was hard. And despite this, and we thought we're gonna have also English classes or something to sort of help us to understand the English and get into it, but school decided to give us no English classes at all or literature at all, which we were like, okay, maybe it's not compulsory or whatever, and which also was quite hard when we were also applying for college, because loads of colleges were like, oh, you need to have a GCSE in English. And that was a massive step back because we didn't know at that point that we needed it. So yeah, there were no nice memories. Same as during the PE classes. I used to play volleyball, I used to play basketball. I played for a school team back in my country. And loads of any sport. I can't remember any of them now, but here we couldn't play any of them. I've been told girls don't play basketball. So I was like, okay, only sport I love and I can't play it. And we were forced to play these other ones like netball, around us or something like that. And I hated it so much because the girls, it was I actually like the idea that we were split, girls and boys, but they were so mean, like they wouldn't explain to us the proper rules of how to play, because all of them actually play since they were 6 or whatever. So yeah, there are no good memories at all. I think the only good memory was my physics and biology teacher, my maths teacher, because they saw the potential that I'm actually know everything I'm meant to know. So they couldn't really teach me anything new, and which was good at some point because I didn't have to struggle to actually understand the subject. What I actually did during the whole period was just translating how to say stuff in English. So that was good. It was easier for me over the 2 years, but we just hated it.
Okay, can you tell me about the cultural differences that you noticed?
Um, I wouldn't say they're a massive one. I think because if you're a white person, it's pretty much the same, I would say. Like, there are a few bits and bobs, like, I hate curry. That's the main thing. I couldn't, yeah. Yeah, I can't do teas at all. So it's just those mini ones, nothing massive. Like, I wouldn't really see myself like. I never had this idea that I would be complete. Like during the high school, I was seen as a Central European girl, but as soon as I left it, there wasn't really a massive gap between someone who was British and not between me. So it was more of we were kind of equal, and I accepted the culture here, and I wasn't really trying to push my culture through because I was taught from very beginning that if you are going to move to a different country, you need to accept the culture of that country. You need to learn the English or language of the country, so you don't really go against those rules. That's why I'm not even speaking my language when I'm outside. Like I only speak to my parents when we're in our house, in our language. So I don't really need. I'm proud where I'm from, but I don't really have that need to share it or shout it out to everyone. Because especially now, I'm a bit scared to even do that. So Brexit and everything. So yeah, but as I said at the beginning, I don't really see the massive gap between my culture background here.
So after you left secondary school, you did your BTEC. Could you tell me more about that?
Well, I started BTEC and the diploma at, I think now it's called Heart of Worcestershire in Bromsgrove. It was scary. I still couldn't speak any proper English, and I don't even know where that bloody college is. Because when I applied, I thought it's gonna be based in Redditch because they're actually one college, but they're spread across 3 different towns. I think now they're in Worcester, Bromsgrove, and Redditch. So if I'll be in Redditch, and I will know. Actually, I was confident where I need to go, who to meet, blah blah blah. But all of a sudden, someone told me I need to catch the bus every morning, and at the time, I hated it, and I was scared of actually travel by bus here because there is I didn't really feel confident enough to go through the the process yet at the time. Um, then I was like, okay, fine, let's do this. And I got to the school. It was much better than high school, or well, secondary school. Um, People were more welcoming, and it was more open the whole to study, so I could actually do whatever I wanted to do rather than be said I need to do this and that and blah blah blah. And teachers were really nice, and they had experienced people of a similar background like me before, so they knew how to actually approach me, how to help me, especially in terms of English. So they actually spent more time with me to learn how to actually describe stuff than they actually did at my secondary school, and that helped me a lot to gain the confidence. And I think that was the breaking point where I started to be like, okay, let's accept the fact that I will never move back to my country. Yeah, after long I'm not 18, and so I was like trying to embrace the whole idea that I'll be staying here. So I actually asked all my tutors, being like, okay, could you actually help me? So they actually spent I think it was extra hour every day with me to just speak properly, get that confidence, and I think that was the best time so far.
Can you tell me what followed on from your BTEC?
After I finished my BTEC, I was encouraged to apply for the BA Fine Art, and one of my tutors, she was actually still studying at the BCU. She was finishing her masters, and she told me that I should try it. That despite the fact that I don't have a GCSE in English, that was one of the things that why I wasn't really confident to actually apply for any universities, because I didn't have it. But luckily, BCE didn't actually need a GCSE in English. They only needed key skill something. I don't really remember. And so with the help of that tutor who actually studied a master's while I was under her wings, she helped me to write the whole statement stuff and all the admin work, and explained to me how the student finance works and everything, because at that point no one really told me how you actually apply for university, because in my country university is for free, but the interview process is more tougher. So when I applied for BA, I was actually expecting to go through the various stages during the interview, like having a spoken interview, then some like drawing or sculptural interviews. But up here, it was just purely just an interview with one of the lecturers. And right after my interview, they told me that I'm actually in. That was really good, and I think that boosted my confidence a lot. And I just at that point I realised that maybe yes, I might want to finish my education here, and that's when I actually started also to be more confident around people, actually trying to find friends, be with them, and try to learn about British culture more. Yeah.
Can you tell me about your art practice? So, like your artistic background.
So during my BA Fine Art, I was quite lost what I'm doing, because back in my country I was trained as a painter, and I was doing loads of drawings, whereas here they don't really find it as a medium or process to actually be interesting, I guess. So they forced me to sort of try different stuff every year during my BA. My practice changed all the time, and then I just realised that maybe it would be good to do something around my culture too. So I decided to be more of a political and trying to, more of a political, but not in a narrow. I didn't really try to be narrowed down in the way that I'm political about that, I'm political about that. I was more interested in what actually political art means and what are the differences between meaning of political art in Britain and political art of the post-communist countries. So that was my whole practice, and then I tried to do some printmaking, so I stick with that. I did loads of screen printings, lithography printing, which is using of limestone and drawing with a fat material. But yeah, my whole practice more about politics.
Comfortable, Joey.
Yep.
You keep creeping around the place.
Well, I don't want to make any creaky flipping sounds.
Could you please elaborate on the politics and how Slovakia influenced your art?
I think it's mostly that I'm starting to realize the difference because I got loads of my friends who actually study in Czech Republic or Slovakia. They studied the same subject like I did, but the difference is back in my country you study for 7 years. Here you study for 3 and then master is only 1. Whereas in Czech Republic or Slovakia you do 3 years bachelor and then 4 years masters, I guess, or it's other way around. But basically when you start at university you have to do all 7 years. It's same like with the architecture courses. And that's when I realized that I was actually questioning my knowledge for the money actually I paid for it, whether at the end of the day it's worth it. And that's why I started to comparing it, what I would actually learn if I was back home or in Czech Republic. Oh, yeah, because I feel the massive gap that, and especially because here in England, the universities are not about quality. It's business, purely business. It's about quantity, how many students they go through. And master's degree also got me realise when I started my master's, there were only 20% of us were British or European. Rest of it was Chinese, Japanese, which is fair enough. Like you need to open your doors to everyone, but I found it ridiculous that they would rather accept people who can't even speak English just because they pay triple amount of money as the British or East European students pay. And I found it really hard to even communicate with them because you can't. The way they are accepted to the uni is it's less harsh for them, for the Chinese or Japanese student, than if I was applying. So if you're European, you need to have an English test and you need to have a certain score. But if you're Chinese or Japanese, you only need to have a half of that score in order to get in. And that kind of started bugging me, like, fair enough, we want to make money out of it, but how Britain want to keep the quality of the people and the knowledge if more than 80% of these educated students are from abroad, and right after they study they will go. So that didn't really make sense to me. Like, I do get it's a business, but it's sad business. And right after also Brexit, I think Brexit happened when I finished my master's degree, and funnily enough my whole final exhibition was about what political art means, and it was after Brexit completely changed the whole meaning. It wasn't really about finding what political art means, it was more about how to fight the whole idea of a Brexit. And I think the Brexit was a starting point where I started to think more about the value of me being here. And by trying also to find a proper job here, I realised I would say people who are British and white are more privileged to get a job after Brexit. So I guess people or institutions, organisations, I believe they're a bit scared to actually employ someone who is from abroad. And that's kind of started to just got you thinking whether it's worth it to fight it or, keep trying after all those failures. Because I've been trying to find a paid job for over a year now, and then I had loads of good internships. I learned a lot. It was an amazing opportunity, but I just don't get the whole idea how people meant to actually make a living here. And the irony of it, that you as a European, you got no security here at the moment. Like, every day the news change all the time. Like, at one point there will be, you will have a secured place, and then other point when you want to apply for the residency card, they came up with this idea that I need to have a private insurance, and that never been out there. No one actually informed you about it. So it's just questioning whether to stay, but at the same time I want to stay here because I got friends friend of mine's here. I got a boyfriend here. I basically build my life here. But by trying to find a job, it just doesn't want. Just you see the future as if there is no future in this country, and the education here got no value whatsoever. And it's scary because I tried to applying for jobs in Czech Republic, Slovakia, Germany, and Amsterdam, and I got interviewed or been at least asked for to come for interview straight away. Here I was refused all the time. So I'm just questioning what the hell is my role here. And I think that's the whole politics of it in my life.
Could you tell me about your masters that you did?
So after my BA, I realised I'm really lost as an artist. I don't know what kind of practice I'm interested in, and I wasn't really enjoying what I was creating. And it's got mostly something to do with the fact that it's really expensive to actually create something and create something unique, because currently everything is copy of a copy of a copy. So you can't really create something new and try to push it. And
Okay, so Karina, could you tell me about your masters, please?
so after my BA, I was kind of lost in my artistic practice as an artist. I couldn't really find myself in anything, like I wasn't really enjoying any technique, or I wasn't really passionate about any materials, and I found it really expensive at that time to actually keep making the artwork, and it got me thinking that at the end of the day it was waste of money. So I was trying to find something else which would less involve me spending money, which is a bit of irony because masters is another money involved. But luckily I applied for the masters before the student finance started funding masters, so it was harder to get to apply for masters. You have to pay for it by yourself unless you apply for the scholarship and any of the relevant things. And luckily I managed to get a BC scholarship, which I was really thankful for. At that time I didn't really want to do masters. I did it just because of my tutor, Mona Cassie, and she was amazing. She made me cry so many times, like in a good way. She was pushing me really hard to actually get something out of me. And I applied for Masters Contemporary Creating, where Mona, she was a leader of the course. So I was like, I enjoy her as my tutor my last year in BA, so I was like, let's try this. And at that time I realised I more enjoyed to work with other artists and create some project rather than me trying to be an artist. And I love to support people. I'm really organised. I'm really good with administrative tasks. So I was like, that might be a good way for me to change a bit of a direction. And master was quite funny, yeah, because it's intense 12 months of study. And at the same time as you're learning new stuff, you also need to research your own stuff to create sort of your research. And I found it quite hard to balance, because on one hand you're learning about the modes of decorating or different approaches, and on the other hand you got completely different research. And in order to sort of like link it together, I decided to focus on what political art is. Basically the whole political ideas is with me all since very beginning. So I was interested in what political art means in Western countries and then in post-communist countries, but I narrowed it down to what political art means in my country, Slovakia and Czech Republic. I'm referring to Czech Republic quite often because back in the days before 1993 we used to be one country, and I believe even though we split, the whole art scene is still together, because when we used to be Czechoslovakia, art was really focused in Prague, which is capital city of Czech Republic. And so that's why I was sort of doing a research in both Slovakia and Czech Republic, and I wanted to interview loads of curators, artists, institution workers, and to basically ask them what they think political art means. And here in Western countries, political art is more of fighting for something or just get the voice out there. Whereas political art in Czechoslovakia, let's say, is very taboo subject and it's closely linked to the communism. So many people don't really want to talk to it or they hate referring to it as a political art. We more use engagement art or activist art, so that's more relevant because for them political art is really romanticized version of what Western countries make it to be, I guess. So after that research, I sort of we were asked to either write a thesis or create a exhibition. So I decided to work with a group of artists from Slovakia and also Czech Republic to sort of visualize the whole research idea about what political art is. And that links nicely with the idea of a Brexit. So it was really good because there were artworks with one artist was creating sort of like a trampolines with European countries and their flags, and then there was one trampoline which was covered with flags of the countries which are not in the European Union. So it's really interesting to see the two of them next to each other actually trying to work out which country is where. And after Brexit, that piece was actually made in 2007, I believe, when Slovakia joined the European Union. So back in the day, it had completely different meaning. It was more about we joining this massive group of, the states. Whereas after Brexit, it just had a completely different meaning. So that was interesting how actually art changed the political idea of it. Then I also had the artwork about the nationalism in Slovakia. We got loads of Nazi people there, and it was interesting to actually give this footage, and it was more of a footage of students discussing what's actually happening at that time. And it was interesting to show it to British citizens, to see that it's not just in England where they got, problem like about the immigration, whereas it's basically whole Europe which got this problem, but at the end of the day it's not really a problem. And there's like every country got its own national group which are Nazis in simple way, and you could see the similarities. And there was loads of people I meet, they were like, oh, okay, I thought this is only a British thing. It's like, no, like open, there's the other things with Britain, it's like people don't want to open their eyes. So if something happened beyond France, they don't care. And it's really frustrating because there's more after France, like there's Germany, which everyone knows, and there's, other half of the world. But loads of people here just ignore the whole part, especially what also annoys me during that time. Everyone was when everyone asked me where I was from, why I did this exhibition, I said that, oh, I'm from Slovakia. I had loads of people saying, oh, Czechoslovakia. And I was like, okay, fair enough, but the country split up 22 years ago, so you would assume that people will know, and this actually lead back to education system here, that nowadays, because my little sister, she's now in a secondary school, and I just learned that history subject and geography subject is not a compulsory subject in this country, and that's scary, like how there are two main subjects you should know, how they cannot be like compulsory here. So it's really cool. It was really interesting circle that the whole exhibition actually led back to the educational parts of it, and also to my education, also to my sister's education. So yeah.
Okay, so after you did your masters, you went into employment. Could you describe your employment to me?
I was trying to find loads of paid jobs, but I believe Britain is the only country where there is no rule that internship needs to be paid. So Britain got this lovely thing about volunteering and internships, and the basic answers. It will look really good on your CV. Blah 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 blah. Never-ending story. But I kinda accept the fact that yes, maybe the unpaid internship will help me. because it was, as a graduate, you can't really find a job in a area you want to work in, so you actually need to accept the job you don't really want to give you money to actually do stuff you actually really want to. So I managed to get an internship at Icon Gallery, then at a gallery called Cars in Plymouth. And Cars Galleries was quite a big commitment for me because it's 4 hours journey and it costs a lot. It's £50 journey. But despite that, I say maybe it will, at the end of the day, it will feel worth it. It will give me, better, my CV gonna looks better and everything, which I'm happy for. But it just got to that point where, despite all these internships and volunteering positions and all my really good references, I'm still struggling to find a proper paid job. Like, I'm still working at the cafe 3 days a week to actually get some income in and to allow me to work for these free organizations. But I just got to the point where it just got me question what Britain actually want to do with all this stuff. Like, if they going to give all these free internships and not giving any reward at the end of it, what's the actual point? So I'm still in the limbo process with trying to find jobs. Every day I actually apply for 10 jobs, which requires like 10 long pages application process, and every time I fill in one, I'm just questioning what the hell. And especially the equal opportunity form, that's the really funny one, because they ask you to put your name under the box you fit in, and they preach how diverse their organization is and how diverse they have to be because our council said so, our government. But then when you start, go deep into the institution trying to find where the diversity is, you just realise there is none. And that's what really upset me, that there's the whole internship and volunteering thing is just never-ending story, which leads to nowhere. And I got to the point that in order to get a job in this country, good paid job, not to be at a cafe forever, you need to be white and British. I'm really going to this nasty point where I don't really want to, because I live with my boyfriend, he's British, and I'm not really trying to, be like, oh yeah, I'm European, you white British, and like just hate each other now because you're more privileged than I am. Like, I'm not having this attitude, but it just got me thinking whether it's actually true that whether you really need to be white and British to get a job.
Okay, could you tell me about your parents, please?
So my parents met when I was believed to. I don't really know my actual dad. I never actually question it because, at the end of the day, your dad is the one who actually raised you. My parents, they're more of a middle class. I think we were a middle class family. Like, we could go, afford to go for a drink, have a nice meal, do shoppings every week when we wanted. We always visit the capital city in Slovakia, so we had a really good life. And I think from what I remember, my dad used to work for my grandparents' company, which was, I think it was a heating company. So that's how my dad actually started, and I believe he studied college as a plumber and electrician. So that's why he actually ended up working for my grandparents. From there, when my grandparents decided to basically sell the company because they just had enough of it, my dad decided to work with double glazed windows, because I think it was back in the days when the whole boom started that, let's just change all our windows. And so he opened the company with that. I think he had it for like 10 years, and then he just got the offer to have a better job here. So that's how the whole change started. My mum, she studied accounting at college. Then she worked for, I believe it was something like a job center here that she was like doing loads of admin stuff. Then she was working part time for many companies doing their accounting, because accounting, being self-employed is more complicated, or having your own company is more complicated in my country than it's here. You don't really have that freedom, whereas you feel that you support it from government to actually open their business. But in my country, oh god, they're strict. Like, you need to have every number. There can't be any gap. So that's why mum used to work as an accounting person as a part-time, because when it comes to the end of the year, the business had to have more than one person to actually go through all the paperwork. So she did that for quite a long time. Then she decided it was at that time where you realised that you need actually a university having a degree. So she decided to have a degree in, I don't even know what she was doing there. It was something about working with people. I guess it was similar to what she was doing at the job centre. So she had a degree in that, and then right after that, there was the idea that Dad moved to England. So Mum actually went with him. So she couldn't really use the degree as she dreamed to use it, and because my parents had the background, well, they were raised during communism. So my mum learned German and Russian, so it was quite hard for her to adapt to English here and to actually pick it up, especially at that age, and they're still struggling in terms of English. Like, they can make the living, they can find a way around working out the stuff at bank and all the basic stuff. But if they wanted to be employed at a better company, like my mum, she would love to go back to accounting. She can't really do it because of the English. So currently she's working at the factory in Jaguar in Birmingham, and she truly hates it. But she said it's still better than nothing. And Dad ended up doing the same, because at his old job, I don't really know what it was. He wasn't really happy. He was really time demanding. He couldn't really spend time with us, especially when we actually moved here because of him. But it turns out for like a year, we haven't even seen him during those days because he worked really hard. So at the end of the day, he just decided to change the job too, and now he's actually working with Mum at the Jaguar factory, which is not bad because it's a German factory. So they run mostly under the Germans' policies. So yeah, it's not as bad. But like from my mum really hates the idea, because as I said before, we were raised in a sense that if you move to a different country, you accept the country's culture and you try to learn English. You're not trying to be like, oh, I'm just gonna speak my language and do whatever you want the rest of it. So what my mom's starting to realise is that the reason why she can't really pick up the English is because there's loads of foreigners at her work who actually refuse to speak English, and they rather carry on speaking their language. And she had these loads of either Polish people, and it's everywhere. Like, you get good Polish people, but bad, and also bad one who are actually quite ignorant. And this is what my mom really hates at the work, is the idea that all the Polish community is sort of pushing out all the British people, workers at the company, because they had many workers there, British workers. There were more of them than the Polish one, but all of them left just because of the attitude Polish people had, and company didn't do anything with it. So that's what my mom really hates about it, why she's basically suffering for the consequences of others, because she can't really learn English because there is no one to speak to at work to pick up the language. So yeah, that's why she actually want to improve the English and try to get out of that environment and try to find a job which is more demanding in terms of try to speak to people, and so she can pick it up quicker, because that's the way to learn it. I never opened a book when I'm learning English. It was mostly just from listening and talking to people, so that's the best way.
Okay, Karina. So do you feel British?
I believe so, yes. I came here when I was 14. It's an age where you start as a person, you start to develop yourself. And because I didn't have direct support from my Slovakian culture. I was more formed by British culture, and I think I feel more British because every time I actually visiting Slovakia, I see it as a holiday country rather than, oh, here I am. I'm actually looking forward to go home. I see this as our home. It's not really the home we get there, and especially with the language, because ever since I'm here, I haven't met a single Slovakian person. Not a single one. Like no one. So I didn't really have if you're Polish, I got loads of friends of mine who are Polish. It's easier for them to find their Polish people and talk to them, so you get that balance of talking in English and talking in Polish. Whereas me, I was non-stop in English. I think that's why my English improved drastically when I started my BA, and because I haven't had that influence of my language. So yeah, but with that in mind, I'm so bad in my own language. The only people I'm speaking to in my language is my parents, and because I live with my boyfriend most of the time, it's happened once a week. And our communication is more of how are you, what you've been doing, so the basic stuff, so you can't really develop or improve the language. And so it's quite funny when I'm trying to actually speak into my mom. Sometimes I can actually think of the sentences more quicker in English than in my own language. And also with my sister, little one, when I'm trying to speak to her, we start Slovak, but because she came here as 4 years old, she is really bad in Slovak, so it's purely just English. Same with the text messages. It's quite funny because half of our communication is in English, half of the communication is Slovak. We kind of work into languages, but the thinking process, I realized last time when I was doing an interview with one gallery in Prague, I'm thinking in English. I can't think in my own language. Or same with dreaming. I'm dreaming in English. I got no Slovak thoughts or anything, and I'm even struggling to speak my own language. I told that to my mom, and it's quite funny because I don't realize it as a person, because sort of I speak my language the way you would translate it, so word to word, which sometimes happen to people actually trying to speak in English, that they translate the words from word to word, so it sounds like as if you get a broken English, but I get the complete opposite. I get broken my own tongue, so it's a bit funny one. And I think I feel more home here in Britain, despite the whole Brexit thing. There are thoughts, I got thoughts about what I'm actually welcome. I'm a bit scared, to be fair. I don't try to speak my language when I'm outside in the streets. Every time mom call me, I'm in a shop, I don't accept the call. I wait till I'm somewhere where I'm on my own in order to pick up the phone and talk to in our language, because I just don't feel confident, and you never know who's listening to you. I met once a lady who I called to my mum in TK Maxx, browsing through the clothes, and there was this lady starting shouting at me that you're the reason why I don't have a job. And when I told her I'm unemployed, she was like, oh, then you are a reason why my daughter didn't get to university. I was like, well, if she didn't get into the university, I guess she's really dumb, because it's easy to get to university here. So I had this exchange with that lady while I was actually talking to her on the phone. And then I just asked her kind of why she's actually listening to, someone else's conversation, that's really rude. And she just says, well, because you're a foreigner, so I want to be careful. I was like, I don't have a bloody bonbon in my bag. I don't have anything. It's just well, you never know what's under your clothes. And I was like, I got see-through top. And it was just never-ending conversation with the lady. Ever since that, I'm just scared of them. Despite what you tell them, those people, they will still have back in their mind their own thoughts, so they won't really accept what you're saying. But saying that, I'm not saying that every British person is like that. It's like saying, every Muslim is a terrorist. It's not like that. So, but still, since that experience, I'm more careful. So I'm trying to rather speak in English, which at the end of the day is more natural for me anyway. So yeah. but I still can make it here.